Today, we're getting into a really influential, maybe even controversial, book in the startup scene. Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. It's quite the read.
Definitely. It challenges a lot of common assumptions.
Yeah, so if you want to understand what Thiel thinks drives truly groundbreaking companies, this is the deep dive for you. We've sort of boiled down his philosophy, his playbook, everything.
Right. Our goal here is basically to unpack Thiel's blueprint. It's about creating something completely new, generating unique value, not just, competing in an existing market. It really asks you to reject a lot of standard startup advice.
And the whole thing really hangs on this core distinction he makes, right? Going from 0 to 1 versus 1 to N. We need to get that clear from the start. What's the difference?
It's basically invention versus copying. 1 to N is what Thiel calls horizontal progress. Think globalization or just scaling something that already works, like opening another coffee shop exactly like the last one.
Okay, scaling up a known model.
Exactly. It's safer, the path's clearer, but it's incremental. It's not where the huge leaps happen.
So if I make an electric car that's, say, 10% faster than the current ones, that's 1 to N horizontal.
That's how Thiel sees it, yeah. A marginal improvement. Vertical progress. That's the 0 to 1 leap. It's creating something fundamentally new. Think typewriters to word processors, or horse-drawn carriages to cars.
A whole new category.
Precisely. It takes imagination, a real vision. And that's what this deep dive is focused on, Thiel's guide to making that vertical leap.
Okay, let's jump straight into maybe his most famous or infamous idea. Competition is for losers. I mean, wow, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? Isn't competition supposed to be good, drive innovation?
It's deliberately provocative for sure, but he has an economic argument for it. Think about perfect competition, like in Econ 101. What happens?
Prices get driven down to the cost of production. No real profit.
Exactly. In perfect competition, no company makes a sustainable economic profit. All the value gets competed away. So why bother innovating if someone else will just copy you and drive your profits down immediately?
Like airlines always fighting on price.
That's a classic example he might point to. They offer basically the same thing, compete fiercely on price, and often struggle financially. It becomes a race to the bottom.
Okay, so it's destructive in that sense.
It is. And he uses this riff on the Anna Karenina principle. You know the line, happy families are all alike?
Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way.
Yeah. Thiel flips it for business. He says, all happy companies are different because they've found a unique monopoly. All unhappy companies are alike because they fail to escape the sameness that is competition.
So if you're just like everyone else, you're stuck in that unhappy competitive scrum.
Pretty much. The goal is to be different, to escape sameness. And when he says monopoly, he's careful to mean monopoly is built on innovation, on being unique. Think early Google search, or maybe Facebook's social graph. Not monopoly is built by, lobbying or dirty tricks.
Right, earned monopoly.
And earned monopolies. These companies generate real value, have healthy margins, and those margins are crucial. They give the company breathing room, freedom to think long-term, invest in ambitious R&D, invent things that benefit society. That's the argument.
Okay, so avoiding that cutthroat competition is key to profit and real innovation.
Yeah.
If that's the goal, how do you actually build one? Let's get practical. What are the characteristics of these happy, innovative monopolies? Thiel lays out 4 key things.
Yeah, these are like the essential ingredients. You need these to build something defensible.
First up, proprietary technology.
Right. And this isn't just slightly better tech. This is the 10x rule. Your core technology has to be an order of magnitude at least 10 times better than the closest alternative.
10 times? That's a huge jump.
It has to be. If you're only, say, 20% better, people won't switch. Inertia is powerful. You'll just get sucked into a competitive fight over features. It needs to be so much better that it's almost a different category.
How do you measure that 10x, though? Speed, cost, features.
It has to be on a dimension that really truly matters to the user. Amazon wasn't just 10x faster. Initially, it had 10x the selection. Google's search results were perceived as 10x more relevant. It has to be a game-changing improvement. If you can't make that 10x claim credibly, Thiel would say you haven't found your 0 to 1 idea.
Got it. That 10x bar is high. Okay, what's number 2?
Network effects. This is a classic. The product or service becomes more valuable the more people use it. Think social networks, marketplaces.
Facebook, eBay, WhatsApp?
Exactly. The network itself creates the value. If you're the only person on Facebook, it's useless.
But that creates a chicken egg problem, right?
Yeah.
How do you get the first users if the value only comes later when there are users?
That's the critical challenge. Thiel stresses you have to design it so it's valuable to the very first users, even in a small network. Facebook started hyper-focused on Harvard. Dense network, immediate value for that group. You have to find that initial niche where it works even on a small scale, then expand, start small and dense.
Makes sense. Okay, third characteristic.
Economies of scale. This is about your cost structure. Does the business get cheaper to run per user as it grows?
So high fixed costs up front, but low marginal costs.
Precisely. Software is the perfect example. Huge cost to develop it initially, but the cost of selling one more copy is virtually zero. Businesses that rely heavily on labor or physical goods, they don't scale the same way. Each new customer adds significant variable costs.
Service businesses often struggle with this.
They do. It limits margin expansion as you grow.
And the fourth pillar.
Branding. A strong brand matters, definitely. But Thiel insists it has to be built on substance.
Not just hype.
Exactly. Think Apple. Strong brand, yes, but it's rooted in product design, user experience, a whole ecosystem. It's not just clever marketing. A brand built only on advertising without that core substance isn't really defensible long-term.
Okay, so proprietary tech 10x, network effects, economies of scale, and branding built on substance. That sounds like a recipe for, well, Google or Apple. But you can't just launch something like that on day one globally. So where do you start?
This is key and kind of counterintuitive. You start small, really small. Thiel says aim to dominate a tiny niche market first.
Don't go after the whole pie immediately.
No, don't try to be 1% of a huge market. Be 100% of a small, well-defined market. Become the undisputed king of that little hill. Then, once you own that beachhead, you expand strategically. Much better than being just another tiny fish in a giant ocean.
Right, establish dominance somewhere specific first. Okay, so you've got your niche. Scaling up from there needs serious thought. And this brings us to Thiel's 7 crucial questions. He says every startup needs to answer these and keep asking them.
Yeah, this is the practical checklist where the vision meets the road. Question 1. The engineering question. Can you actually create breakthrough tech? Is it really 10x better or just an incremental tweak?
Back to that 10x rule? Okay. 2.
The timing question. Is now the right time? Are market trends, technology readiness, cultural factors aligned? Too early, you burn out. Too late, someone else owns the space. Timing is critical.
3. The monopoly question. Are you starting with a big share of a small market? This really hammers home that niche strategy. Can you realistically own your starting point?
4. The people question. Got the right team. Thiel is huge on this. He talks about co-founder relationships like a marriage get it wrong, and it's disastrous. Keep the core team tight, aligned, and fully committed. Avoid outsourcing critical functions. The secret often lies within that core team.
Don't dilute the vision or the talent. 5.
The distribution question. This one's often overlooked by tech founders. How do you actually get your product to customers? Sales and distribution aren't afterthoughts, they're fundamental.
Brilliant product, no way to sell it equals failure.
Absolutely. You need a clear plan to reach and acquire customers.
And this ties into those crucial metrics, right? CLV and CAC, customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost. Why are they so vital here?
Because the math has to work. Simply put, the total value you get from a customer over their lifetime, the CLV, must be significantly higher than what it costs you to acquire that customer, the CAC.
Otherwise, you're losing money on every new customer.
Exactly. No matter how great the product, if your distribution economics are broken, tech, CLV, the business model is unsustainable. You need to figure out a distribution channel, viral, sales team, ads, whatever that has positive economics.
Super practical point. Okay, question 6.
The durability question. How defensible is your market position 10, 20 years from now? Are you building something lasting?
Thinking about the long game, not just a quick flick.
Right. What's your end game? How will you protect against future competitors? You need to plan for sustainability.
And the last one, number 7, feels very Thiel.
The secret question. Have you identified a unique opportunity, some important truth, that most other people overlook or disagree with?
The contrarian insight.
That's the heart of it. If your core idea is something everyone already agrees on, you're probably in a competitive market already. A true 0 to 1 venture is built on seeing something valuable that others don't.
And tied into that durability, that long game. Thiel also stresses something simpler. You actually have to enjoy the work. If you can't imagine still wanting to work on this a decade later,
you probably won't have the stamina to get there. Building something truly new, achieving that durable monopoly, it often takes years, maybe a decade or more before it really pays off big. You need that passion to sustain you through the long haul. Indefinite optimism, he calls it.
Okay, but this whole vision,
Hmm.
definite planning, aiming for monopoly,
Mm-hmm.
it flies in the face of a lot of other startup advice, doesn't it? Like lean startup, iterating, pivoting.
Absolutely. It's a very different philosophy, and that's where the critiques come in. We should definitely touch on those.
Yeah. What are the main counter-arguments people raise against 0 to 1?
Well, the biggest one is probably that iteration versus definite vision debate. Thiel believes success comes from having a clear, unique insight, a secret, and executing it decisively.
A master plan.
Right. But critics, often citing the lean startup movement, argue that most successful companies don't start with a perfect plan. They start with a hypothesis, launch something minimal, get feedback, learn, pivot, iterate.
They find their way through experimentation.
Exactly. Think about how many famous companies pivoted away from their original idea. Critics say Thiel undervalues this process of discovery through iteration. It's a fundamental disagreement on how innovation actually happens.
Plan everything versus learn as you go. What else?
There's the privilege critique. Critics point out that Thiel himself, Stanford, PayPal mafia, big venture capitalist, comes from a position of significant advantage. His advice, they argue, might work if you start with those kinds of resources and connections, but maybe it's less applicable to founders starting from scratch without that network or capital.
Is his advice universally applicable or specific to his context?
That's the question they raise. Then there's the monopoly dilemma itself. Thiel argues innovative monopolies are good for society, but the counter-argument is pretty straightforward. Once a company achieves a true monopoly, what's stopping them from jacking up prices, letting quality slide, or coasting instead of innovating further?
The lack of competitive pressure could eventually harm consumers.
That's the concern. Is a world of monopolies really better for everyone in the long run? It's a valid question.
And one more big one. Didn't his own examples actually compete?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Thiel emphasizes avoiding competition. But if you look at Google, they fought AltaVista and Yahoo, Facebook battled MySpace, PayPal fought eBay's own payment system.
They didn't just appear in an empty market. They had to win.
They definitely competed, often ferociously. Now, you could argue they won because they were 10x better, fulfilling that condition, but they still had to enter the arena and fight. So it challenges the idea that you should, or even can, avoid competition entirely. Maybe it's more about being prepared to win decisively when you do compete.
Right. Maybe the goal isn't avoiding the fight, but being so much better that the fight is short and decisive.
Perhaps. It complicates the simple competition is for losers mantra a bit.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener? Whether you fully buy into Thiel's vision or lean more towards iteration and competition, he definitely forces you to think bigger.
Yeah, he pushes you to look beyond just making small improvements or chasing short-term trends. He wants you to ask, am I creating something genuinely new and defensible? Am I making a vertical leap?
Stop focusing on rivals. Focus on originality.
Exactly. And if you want to build something truly impactful, something that shapes the future, you have to start by thinking differently. You need that intellectual courage to pursue an idea that isn't obvious.
Which brings us right back to his core challenge, that final question we should leave everyone mulling over.
Right. If you really want to find your own path from 0 to 1, the question Thiel insists you must answer is, what important truth do very few people agree with you on?
Find that secret, that non-obvious truth, and you might just have the foundation for your own 0 to 1 venture. That has been The Deep Dive.